Hi everybody, what is up? How are you? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Victoria, and on this channel we do all sorts of fun stuff, from femininity content to commentary content to fun reaction videos like this. So if that sounds like fun to you, please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so that you can join our family and never miss out on a new upload. Today we are reacting to Jubilee's Do All Trans People Think the Same? Jubilee Spectrum videos involve gathering a group of people from a certain demographic, whether they are trans, conservative, liberal, male, female, white, black, whatever. In these videos, the producers will say a statement and the people have to line up anywhere from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So I made myself some cards so I can tell you all where I fall on the list, and I'm really excited to see what the questions are. I'm so excited to dive into this week's video, and before I do, I have a word from our lovely sponsors over at Catch Beauty. Hi there! If you know me, if you've been following me for a while, then you would know that body hair removal and permanent body hair removal has been a huge roadblock in my transition. For years, I had to shave my arms and my legs every single day if I wanted a smooth result, and I had already spent thousands of dollars hand over fist at salon and electrolysis lasers on my face and my bikini, so I was just not interested in spending that money on my whole body. So I did some research, and that is when I found Catch Beauty's at-home IPL laser hair removal device. This laser is my top recommended method of permanent hair removal and permanent hair reduction. Like I said, used to have to shave my arms like every single day, and you can see here I have no hairs. The ones that I do are like blonde hairs that wouldn't be picked up anyway. With our IPL handset, you can get salon quality results at home for a fraction of the price. Also, it's in the comfort of your own home, and you can use it anywhere on your entire body. Instead of booking a section for your calf and then your thigh and then your tummy and then your chest, girl, you would be in a salon for years. On top of their incredible products, I really love what Catch Beauty stands for. They have been supporting the trans community since day one, providing us with resources. Catch Beauty wants to help us through even the hairiest parts of our transition. So whether you are trans, not trans, man, woman, somewhere in between, if you want permanent hair removal and permanent hair reduction, I highly recommend you click the link in my description box down below, check out the Catch Beauty at-home IPL laser hair removal device, and use code ROSE to get money off your order. Thank you so much to Catch Beauty for sponsoring this portion of today's video, and without any further ado, let's dive right into Jubilee's Do All Trans People Think the Same? Alright you guys, this video is on the channel Jubilee on the Spectrum series, and it is titled Do All Trans People Think the Same? Right off the bat on the thumbnail, they show Lila Gibney and an elder trans woman, and it looks like they're at odds, you know, trying to give some clickbait to show the young versus older. So let's dive in and see what it shows us.
Gender and sex are different, and one doesn't mean the other. Like, me having a penis does not make me a man, or does not make me less of a woman.
That's true. Completely agree. Hey, strongly agree. Lila's servant.
Children are capable of understanding their gender identity.
Okay. So first off, I noticed that they have all sorts of people that are transgender here. So it's not just transgender women. We have transgender, I'm assuming transgender men. We have people in between, and we have all sorts of people from the trans umbrella. So for the first question, do children understand their gender? Are they capable of understanding gender? I think that depends on what age you consider children. Are we saying under 18, or are we saying a 2-year-old? I think it takes someone of a certain age to make the decision with their parents and a doctor to transition, but to understand your gender, yes, I would say every child understands their gender. For me, even as a little kid, would tie t-shirts over my head and pretend it was long hair, and I pretended that I was a little mermaid and I just wanted to be a girl. So even as a little kid, I'm gonna say agree instead of strongly agree. I'm just going to say agree because generally yes, but I do think there are limitations.
3, 2, 1, go.
Most people are saying yes. Okay. Okay.
I was 6 years old, and I have a clear, vivid memory of telling a friend walking down the street, I think I would have been better off born a girl. And I had my whole family, like half my family, telling me, you can't be that. My friend telling me, you'll never be female. And a therapist telling me, like, oh, you'll never look female. Your hands are too big. Your voice is too low. And here I am, very female. Right. So I'd like to believe that I was right.
Yeah, I completely relate. I remember walking home from school one day from the bus stop, and I was talking to my male neighbor about how I was supposed to be a girl, and he just didn't get it because there weren't the resources back in the day. And he understands now. He's very accepting and wonderful and great. But I remember that having that discussion too.
I know when I was 7, I knew. But at the time, that was a few years ago, and there really wasn't any source of information available. But I knew there was something different about me. So kids know young, and we need to not necessarily say, okay, switch everything over right now, but we need to give them space to grow and understand what it is.
Okay, we're about to get to the next question. I completely agree with her, and I love to see the perspective of elder trans people. I think it is such a vital part of the trans experience to communicate with people of all ages that have been through all stages of transition.
Gender roles are necessary.
Okay, gender roles are necessary. I'm going to say, you know what, I'm gonna say either somewhat agree or I'm in the middle. So I'll say in the middle because I think they're necessary for some people. They're actually, you know what, I'm gonna go towards more somewhat disagree. Final answer, somewhat disagree. So hard to read that. I think for some people they're very helpful, but I think generally they are damaging. It puts people in a box. It is a symptom of the patriarchy, and I think overall it does more harm than good. That being said, I identify with a binary gender role. So it can't be all bad because I fit into it. I love the roles that my gender is given. I do often wonder, would people transition if everybody was androgynous in gender? I don't know. That's not the world we live in, so it's hard to say.
3, 2, 1, go.
Gender norms and gender constructs, like growing up, they hurt me. They were like, you're a boy, you can't dress up, you can't play with dolls. That just made me start to think that I wasn't made correctly or I wasn't right.
Yeah.
My view on gender roles as a whole is very based on my identity because I'm non-binary. There's no non-binary gender role, There's female and male, and then whatever's in between, you just kind of don't belong. I feel like not belonging, I'm kind of building my own role, which is kind of weird, but if it didn't exist at all, I wouldn't have to. No one would have to try and fit. Right. No one would have to build their own role. And that's a lot of where my view on this stems from.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw one more thing in about gender roles and how hard I worked for 50 plus years trying to prove to the world I was the most masculine guy in the world.
Yep.
I spent a literal fortune buying every cool toy I could buy so I could go out and off-road better than anybody, fly an airplane better than anybody. It doesn't work. It doesn't change who's inside of you. And so that whole concept of, well, you have to be this kind of a person or you're not whole is just wrong.
Okay, so as much as the gender roles are hurting by being so constricting, also that constriction is, a lot of that is what kind of helped me understand my trans identity. So the roles that are there, I didn't create them, but it exists. It exists. And I don't want it to exist in some of the ways that it does, but it does. Do I believe this should be widened? Yeah. So that's really what I've come to.
Okay, I love all of that. So the first person, I don't remember everyone's name, I'm so sorry. The first person that spoke was non-binary. Binary and non-binary trans people are very different in a lot of ways. And I think it's interesting to see a non-binary person's view of binary gender roles. For the elder trans woman, that almost made me burst into tears. I don't really know why. It's so true that no matter how hard you try to hide something, no matter how hard you're trying to hide who you are, hide what you like, it's just who you are. You can't change it. You can get the nicest, if you're born a man and you identify as a woman, you can get the nicest truck, you can get the nicest hardware, you can get the, be the buffest guy, but that doesn't change who you are inside. So her perspective, especially as someone that did transition later in life, she said that she transitioned around 50. I think that's such a valuable perspective that so many of us are missing. And for Xavier, I don't mean to sound like a hypocrite because I just said that I disagree But like, gender roles are what gave me the structure to create my transition, to model my transition. And it's what set off alarms in my head to tell me that I was not fitting into what everyone else fit into. So yeah.
Gender reassignment surgery is necessary to be transgender.
Okay, gender reassignment surgery is necessary to be transgender. I'm going to say that providing gender reassignment surgery and gender affirming care is necessary in healthcare, but is it necessary to be transgender? No. I will say that actually getting surgery, I will say disagree. I do not agree that it is necessary to be transgender. This is a hot take. I'm gonna make a whole video on this and I'm so sorry. Go ahead and go off in the comments, whatever. Gender dysphoria is necessary to be transgender. Gender dysphoria just means the misalignment with your internal gender and your biological sex. Doesn't mean you have to have bottom surgery, doesn't mean you have to hate what you have between your legs. It means that some parts of you, whether it's your voice or your facial hair or whatever, don't align with your gender. If you don't have that, you are not transgender. Sorry. Xavier is laughing. Okay.
I'll go slightly here. There we go.
Okay, so we got everyone on strongly disagree, and we have the elder trans woman. I gotta find out her name, I'm so sorry. And we have her on the agree side. This is a perspective that we see a lot with older trans people, that you need to have every part of your transition completed. They tend to be a little more black and white than the younger generation.
But it depends on the person. It very much depends on the person.
100%.
For me, it was kind of important. You know, it was just kind of the finishing step kind of thing. But a lot of people don't need it. The social transitions, the personal transitions and things that are much more important to people than the medical transition. But other people need that as a very important step to start their transition or finish their transition.
Before you have surgery, before you have hormones, before you tell anybody, and maybe even before like you really have a grasp of like what it is you're experiencing, you can already be your gender. My gender was female from the point that I as a child developed a sense of gender. I still get asked like, oh, like when you had your surgery, do you feel like a woman now? And I was like, not any more than I did last week.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
For me, I could definitely like go without it and still be 100% happy, 100% like confident as a woman. But I think it's just kind of like a cherry on top and like what eventually I'm gonna need to like complete the whole circle.
Being physically female is not even in like the top 10 things that make me feel like a woman. Like me having a penis does not make me a man or does not make me less of a woman.
It's interesting to look at this. The young folk, the old folk.
Seriously.
And that's what I've seen through the years is that it's less and less important to the young transgender people, but it still needs to be available.
Okay, so she pretty much said the exact same thing that I said. It's something that needs to be available. Like, it is important to provide that service and it should be covered by healthcare. Now, I love what that one woman with the blazer said, that, you know, waking up from surgery, people are like, you're a woman now, you're a woman now. And people have said that to me. Now listen, I understand that they are well-meaning, that they just be like, you must feel so happy and relieved. And I did. I did feel all of those things, but I didn't feel like more of a woman because I've always been a woman. I just felt more comfortable, I guess. So I don't think it's necessary to be transgender, but I think it's necessary for a lot of transgender people. And I think it's necessary to have gender affirming care in healthcare.
Dating is difficult for me.
Okay, dating is difficult for me. Now, as y'all know, I'm getting married, so I'm doing just fine, but I do think generally, I would have to say somewhat agree for me. As a trans person, I would say strongly agree. But in my case, I would just say agree or somewhat agree. What becomes difficult is wanting to find someone that wants to be in public with you, finding someone that wants to openly date you. And I acknowledge that as a passing trans woman, I have that advantage where I can go out with my fiance, or when I was dating and stuff, I could go out and people wouldn't necessarily know that they were with a trans person. Now, as a whole, dating as a trans person will be more difficult. That's just a given. I'd be interested to see where these folks lie.
3, 2, 1, go.
Dating is very hard. The only kind of people that I attract are people that want to like fetishize trans people. So they'll be like, like, you're so hot, I want to do this and this and this with you. But then I'm like, oh, but like, let's go out in public, let's like go to dinner or something. They're like, ooh, I don't know about all that. Like, I don't want my friends to know I'm dating someone like you. And it's like, they feel like they have to come out as well as someone who's attracted to like a trans person.
I agree.
That is so true. People often feel like they have to come out as being trans attracted. Now, if you're a chaser, sure, maybe that's the case. But generally, if you like a trans woman or if you like a trans man, that doesn't make you anything. It just means that you like women or you like men.
It's confusing for them if they say like, oh, so am I like gay or something like that? And it's like, no, because I am attracted to straight men and like straight men are like attracted to me. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Like liking penis and liking vagina like doesn't make you gay or straight. It's like liking a man or liking a woman makes you gay or straight.
Exactly.
It's a little weird being like not a part of the binary, so people are really like, so what am I? What are you? Like, what is this?
Where do we fit together?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think I like you, but I don't know what I like. What is this? I'm like, if you like, then take.
Right.
You know?
They just want to like, they want to put a label on everything.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't need that.
I just think people need to stop with like, oh, I'm attracted to men, or like, oh, this. It's like, no, you're attracted to like a human being. You're attracted to a person.
Overall, I'm gonna agree with all of them. I can only imagine how difficult it must be to be non-binary in the dating world, where really, I don't know if now I can't speak for any non-binary people because I don't know that experience, but I wonder if I would feel a certain kind of way if I was assigned male at birth, for example, and I'm non-binary and I date a straight woman or I date a gay man. I wonder if I would feel invalidated by that in any way. I would just be interested to know if that's the case. So someone let me know in the comments down below if you are non-binary and you have an input on that. But yeah, I think generally it's easy to find someone to fetishize you and it's hard to find someone that is proud to be with you.
There are risks to being transgender.
Okay, there are risks to being transgender. I'm gonna go ahead and say agree. You know, it's not like I think there are risks to everything, but being transgender, being openly transgender in the world is so dangerous, where there are people being murdered in the streets, particularly Black trans women being murdered. So it is incredibly dangerous, but you know, everything's dangerous, so.
3, 2, 1, go.
Transitioning is dangerous.
Yeah,
Transitioning
100%.
is not easy. Like I've been beaten, I've had death threats, I've had sexual assault. Someone threatened me of that.
Yeah.
And I'm privileged in this community because of my race or because I transitioned younger. And the biggest problem is that trans women of color are the ones being murdered.
Thank you
this
for bringing
country.
attention to
Like,
that.
Trans people of color are the ones at risk. And this is the real issue that people need to know about. But like, it is totally worth it because there's no life outside of this.
Right.
It's definitely real. That's real. So the fear of violence from others, yes, that's a risk. But I don't know. There's risks playing the stock market. There's a risk when you eat that McDonald's. Everything's a risk, you know, nowadays. But I feel like what's really worth it was my mental health. That's not a risk I'm willing to take because that's the real death.
Okay. So for what Xavier said, I agree. I think sometimes these questions maybe get misconstrued. Maybe it's me that is misunderstanding, but I think what they're saying is being openly transgender a risk or unsafe or whatever. I think what Xavier was answering is transitioning dangerous? Not just being openly trans, but the process of transitioning and living your truth. Because I agree that for me, if I didn't transition, I just wouldn't be here. There's not a plan B. it truly was, I don't mean to be morbid, but it was here or not here. So it's not like the risks outweigh the rewards, but it is dangerous and it is risky.
I love my body.
Okay, this is a great question to ask trans people. I love my body. Okay, for me, this would be hard for me to answer on the spot. I'm going to say somewhat agree, because I have worked so hard on my body. The way that I love my body now versus the way that I detested and was disgusted by my body pre-transition, I mean, it's different. I'm so happy and I could not be happier. But I could be happier because on top of being trans, I also am 24 and a woman, and I have my own body image issues on top of gender dysphoria. So generally, I have days, I think generally I try to be neutral about my body, but I have days where I feel so pretty and sexy. And then I have days where I can't even leave the house because I feel like I look like a man, or I'm too ugly or whatever, and I can't film. You guys know I will spend weeks not filming a video because I just can't stand to sit and look at myself. So yeah, I'm gonna say somewhat agree.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, we'll go on.
I love the lacy shirt,
In
girl.
my case, I really agree, because this is the body I got.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I did for myself was all during my cross-dressing days. I used to put on all the crazy foundation wear, trying to squeeze myself into something that I didn't fit in. And I looked at myself one day and I said, you know, you look as good as X number of regular women. Have I made a few changes? Yes, but that doesn't change the fact that I love who I am and what my physical presence is.
Wow, I love that. I think that is a viewpoint that comes with age. I'm still so young, but the older I get, the more comfortable I get with my body, because the more I can look back to the moments where I thought I was so ugly or so manly or so overweight or whatever, and I can look back on those photos with much kinder eyes and realize that I'm just as beautiful as any other person, because everybody is beautiful. I truly wish that I could say that I'm on the same page as her, but I'm not quite there yet. But it was very affirming to hear that, because I think the threat of never being happy with our bodies is always facing trans people, and it's an expectation that people will think we're just never going to be happy, or we won't be happy until we have one single surgery down there, and that's all that's going to change. Like it's a tough process for trans people.
It's just so hard. It's so hard because, like, being told, like, women have this and women look like this and women, and it's like, then I don't look like that, so I must hate my body then, because my body is what keeps me from looking like a woman. But then I, like, get out of that, like, toxic mindset, and I'm just like, wait, I am a woman.
I wish I had said strongly agree, but that's not the truth. And the truth is that I love my mind, I love my life, but there are days that I have where my self-esteem issues are so bad that I can't leave the room. And I almost didn't even go to my college graduation because I was like, I'm not female enough
that is so
to graduate
sad.
college or something. And all that being said, I have no regrets. That was the thing. Because if I hadn't transitioned, I just wouldn't have a life at all.
Absolutely. That is such a relatable experience to the crippling dysphoria so many trans people feel. I would get bad grades in college because I couldn't leave my dorm. I couldn't leave. I couldn't get food. I couldn't anything. And a lot of times I would get to the lecture for the last like 15 minutes and not even be counted for the attendance, but get there because I wanted to get the material. I wanted to learn, but I had to meticulously clip in hair extensions, paint a whole face at 6 in the morning for an 8 a.m. class, wake up super early, hyperfixate on this. My lash is an honorary, so I have to take it off, put it back on. I got it, like, just being so hypercritical is something that I still battle with, and I think it's something that a lot of trans people battle with, so.
Sometimes I wish I wasn't transgender.
That question, that question hits me because I always wish that I wasn't transgender. Now, here's the thing. So I'm gonna say strongly agree. I am so proud of myself. I have come so far. I have changed so many lives. The way that I get messages from people that watch my channel telling me that I helped them with their transition, I inspired them to come out, whatever it may be. I am so proud of that and the progress that I have made in the world. But if I could go back in time to my birth, my, development, whatever, I would absolutely choose to be born female every single time. While I have made incredible progress and I am so happy with everything in my life, that still isn't worth to me the pain of transition, the pain of being transgender. Now that's personal. Don't mean to be a little dark, but let's go in.
3, 2, 1, go.
Literally me. Literally.
I often have told people that, this is not something I would wish purposely on my worst enemy. It's not pleasant. You go through all sorts of interesting changes. It cost me my spouse that I love dearly, but it was so important to me that it had to happen that I'm pleased that I did it. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also something I'd never wish on anybody else on purpose.
Yes.
For me, it's I'm disagreeing because it's not the fact that I'm trans that I don't like. It's the discrimination that I face that I don't like. The intersections that I hold, being black, being trans, you find like discrimination comes at you in different ways. And so that's really what I could do without.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I just hate, like everyone else is saying, is the discrimination, because it's the fact that oh, if I'm in a certain situation, or oh, I'm somewhere, I have to worry about my safety for literally being who I am in that sense. And it's nobody should have to worry about whether they're gonna make it through something just for being themselves.
So true.
Obviously, I don't think this will ever go away fully, but as I was coming out, it I would have times where I was God, I wish I wasn't like this. I wish I wasn't trans, because then my life would be easier. I wish I was born a woman, or I wish that I was just comfortable being male. And then I realized that if I was born a female, I wouldn't be a part of the LGBTQ community. I wouldn't have gone through the struggles that I have gone through, and I would be a completely different person. And I love who I am, and so I don't think I would want to change that. And I'm proud to be trans.
I'm proud to be trans.
Time for the Gina selfie. Everybody on this side of me, please.
That's so cute. She's so happy.
I love that, yeah.
I love that, yes. That was really sweet, and I love to see her pull out her camera and take a picture with all of them. That was probably such a healing experience for her. Yeah, that was great. I would say for the last question, just so we can wrap up the answer parts, I very much agree with her on the strongly agree side. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I don't relate to Xavier in that sense, where yes, society's perceptions, I wish that would change, but at the end of the day, even if society loved me for me, I still am not there. And for me, being trans feels like a birth defect, in that I was just meant to be born female and that's it, and I wasn't, and I wish that I was. So, that's that, I guess. I wish that I didn't have the internal turmoil of being trans and the internal battles and wondering why I was born wrong. I believe that I was born transgender for a reason, to help people out there, to develop, add to the universe's knowledge and experience of itself. But yeah, any day I would choose to be cisgender. But I am so proud of the progress that I made, and I am so proud to be transgender. So let's talk about this as a whole. Okay, I loved that video. First off, I love to see trans people together in the same room. Something about that is just so healing to me, because there are so few of us that are openly out there, and there are so few spaces where we can gather openly. So it's just cool to see people like me and people under the same umbrella as me joining together. It's just something about that is so healing. I really enjoy that they weren't arguing with one another. When one side agreed, one disagreed. They weren't you're wrong, why do you think that? Everyone was listening without judgment to hear everyone's perspective, and I thought that was wonderful. I I think my biggest takeaway from this video is highlighting how diverse a certain demographic can be. A lot of people will think because we're such a small community that we all think the same, and we don't. I feel like a lot of people in that group probably hold similar values. I could be wrong, but generally, you know, want trans people to be supported, want trans legislature to be passed, want gender affirming care, but everybody walks their own journey, and one person's trans experience is not going to be the same as another trans person's experience. Whether that is because one of them is binary trans, one is not binary trans, whether that is because one's a trans man, one's a trans woman, whether that's because one person is black and one is white, whether it's because one is old and one is young. There are so many different ways in which our community is diverse, and I think that was so beautifully represented here. There are generational differences, you know, when it comes to surgery or the loving your body question. The loving your body question actually really touched me in my heart, because as I get older, I really hope that I become more comfortable in my trans identity and that I become more comfortable in my own body. Because she's right, this is the body I got. So many of us do so many dangerous things to our body to further our transition, to look a certain way, to feel a certain way, and at the end of the day, like we're starting to place our aesthetics and our journeys above our physical health. And in some cases, those go hand in hand, like transition in general. I would not be here if I didn't transition in some way. I would rather have whatever risks come with it than not be around. I found this video to be very healing as a trans person, and I think as a non-trans person, this video would be very eye-opening, because generally we are often seen as being all the same thing. All of us are trans, and that is it. But there are so many intricacies that set us all apart, and that is just part of the beauty that is the human experience. Everyone's different. This was a very wholesome video. If you want to see a drama-filled video, go ahead and watch me react to Jerry Springer and Maury. I will link them right up here as well as down below. Those videos are less healing, a little less cozy, a little more like throwing chairs and throwing fists, but still a great watch. So I will link the original video to this down below if you want to go ahead and give it a watch. Please let me know in the comments down below what you want to see me react to, what you want to see me make videos about, and you just might make it into next week's video. You are all amazing. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and until I see you next week, good luck. I love you.